guys, so today's video I'm going to be talking about the 5 warning signs that I would personally look out for if I suspected that a child was being groomed or abused in some way. So we're going to start with number 1. My number 1 sign, the first thing that I would really pay extra attention to, is that the suspected abuser is going to start paying a lot of extra attention to the child. This could be in playing, touching, and it won't be outwardly inappropriate touching. It will be rubbing of the shoulders or touching the back of their neck or putting their hands on their knees, but this will be frequent and it will become more frequent. This can also be in the form of outings, anything to try to get the child alone with them, or at least as close to alone with them as possible so they can have some extra one-on-one time with that child. This will also come out in the form of conversations, inside jokes, and these will typically be whispered hush-hush conversations that aren't said in front of everybody. They won't be loud, boisterous things that the suspected abuser is saying outwardly and openly. These will be little whispers, or when they pass by each other, you might hear just the tone of them talking and you might not hear what they're saying, but these are just little things to gain the trust of the child, make them think that they are being paid extra attention to, and they are. I would always recommend that you pay extra attention to any adult who you see doing these things. And honestly and obviously, doing one of these things does not mean that that person is abusing a child or that they might start abusing the child, but all of those things grouped together can definitely be a warning sign that something isn't right. Something isn't quite up to snuff with the relationship of that person and the child. My number 2 sign that I would personally look out for is when the child begins attaching to the suspected abuser. This is something that usually happens, at least in my case, happened fairly early on because of number 1, all of the attention that he was paying to me, all of the whispered conversations, the inside jokes, the polite and loving touching. Nothing inappropriate had happened yet, but this is something that happens very early on in the grooming process. So when a child begins attaching to their abuser or suspected abuser or potential abuser, I want to be very clear in my terms here. This isn't something you can accuse someone of right off the bat. It is something that needs to be kind of tiptoed around lightly in the beginning. Back to child attachment. This will look like a child defending the suspected abuser. If anybody says anything against that person, even if it isn't something involving the child, say there is a suspected abuser and he has left a party after saying something unsavory, and the child hears another conversation that somebody's having and they say, "My gosh, Joe Schmo just made a fool of himself." This could look like the child stepping up and being like, "No, Joe Schmo is cool. He didn't do anything wrong. He's very nice." This could also look like the child wanting to be around this person more. So if this person is someone that is outside the home, when they come to visit or when you see them in public, this could look like the child running up to them to give them a hug, or yelling across a store that they see them and they want to talk to them. This could also look like the child talking about that person a lot, especially someone that they haven't known for very long, someone that hasn't been around the family for very long, and all of a sudden your child is talking about this person. Do you know what this person said? Do you know what this person has done before? Typically, in the grooming process, the abuser or potential abuser will fill the child's head with all of these grand things that they have done. They could be true, they could be lies, but one way or another, they are going to make themselves seem cool to this kid. So that kid is going to want to share those things. I would say, hey, Dad, did you know that my abuser did this? I obviously wasn't calling him my abuser to my dad, but I would share those stories and I would say, oh my God, isn't it so cool that so-and-so did these things? Tip number 3 is moving forward further into the abuse or grooming process. And my third sign would be that the child and the suspected abuser become secretive or excusatory about their behaviors, patterns, actions. They will always have an explanation. And I want to be clear here, I am not blaming a child that has been preyed upon for making excuses for their abuser. This is a very normal thing. Children who are being preyed upon will make excuses for their abuser because their abuser goes to great lengths to make sure that they have control over the child. They want to make sure from the very beginning that that child will protect them from anything that could happen to them. So yes, abusers will go to incredible lengths to brainwash children that they intend on abusing, to make sure that they cover all of their potential bases in case something goes wrong. They want to make sure that if they are ever caught in a compromising position in this child's life, that the child will lie for them. So moving on to sign number 4, that would be the child will start withdrawing from people or things that they were once attached to. So once your child gets attached to their suspected abuser, they will start to back off from friends, back off from family, back off from sports or dancing or whatever hobbies they had before. They will start to retreat from those things because they want to give all of their time and all of their energy to their suspected abuser. That is a normal part of the process. I lost all of my friends. I didn't have many to begin with, but I lost all of them when the abuse started because I was so attached to my abuser and he was making me feel so important that I didn't think I needed any of those other people. I withdrew from my grandmother. I withdrew from my dad and from my mom and my sisters. I completely withdrew from everything else that I loved because I thought that I could get everything I needed from my abuser. That is not an atypical process for a child who is being preyed upon to go through. I withdrew from things that I was once extremely attached to, namely my grandmother. She raised me from birth. We were extremely close. But once the abuse started and once he had gotten into my head and brainwashed me and got me where he wanted me, I withdrew dramatically from my relationship with my grandma. And it was strained from there on out. Step number 5 that I would look at, the sign that I would see, number 5, is that the suspected abuser is going to work extremely hard to gain the trust of the people surrounding the child, whether that be grandparents, parents, friends, whoever is around the child frequently that either cares for the child or has a grand attachment to the child. That abuser is going to try to get as close to them as possible. My abuser moved into our home with us, was named my godfather, was best friends with my dad. All of those things helped to build this trust. So for my situation, that looked like him being friends with my dad. That looked like him paying bills at the house, doing favors for my family, giving money, giving gifts. All of these things culminated into everybody around us thinking that he was a great and charitable guy, like he had a good heart and had fallen on hard times, but was doing his best to pull himself up by the bootstraps and make friends with people that were helping him and give back. They want to look like a great person. They could involve themselves with your church if you are a churchgoer. They could involve themselves with any charitable work that you do. Anything to make you believe that they are a decent human being and worthy of your trust around your child. Now, obviously, these are not all of the signs that you should look out for, but those are my main signs that I would personally look out for if I suspected a child was being abused. I will probably do further videos on this to elaborate on these things, but I sort of wanted to touch quickly on each one of these 5 signs today. And if you have any questions or comments or concerns regarding my list, please feel free to let me know. If you are interested in following my story, I will again link my blog down below in the description. I will link my Facebook page in the description as well. And if you subscribe and push the notification bell, then you will stay up to date with all of my videos from here on out. I appreciate you guys. I thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.